Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Melanin MVP. I'm your host, Angela Hollowell, and I'm joined today by Jenna Foley. Jenna, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for asking me. I'm excited.
Jenna is a fellow cyclist, but by cyclist, I mean someone who's been riding a bike a lot longer than myself consistently. One of the hardest parts, or one of the most beautiful parts, I think, about cycling is cycling with other people. And Jenna has a group of women that she leads on a social bike ride every once in a while, and I would love to hear about that.
Yeah. It's so funny you say, and I'm about to ask you a question, I'm sorry, and I'll answer yours.
It's okay.
I don't feel like I've really been in like the grand scheme of things riding bikes for that long. Are you newer to on the cycling side of things?
As an adult, I would say yes.
Okay.
Bought my first bike in February of 2022, and I'd been like borrowing friends' bikes and like renting bikes before I like did my big girl purchase. And in terms of like consistently riding, it's really low key been like this year, girl, because I have a race on the books. So otherwise, I was just like riding here and there recreationally or like for work. So
yeah. It's so funny. We all like stumble into, at least I'm finding everyone's kind of stumbles into cycling at some point, and it's rare. I mean, I think there are a few who are like, I grew up in a cycling family and like I knew about it forever. I'm like so not that. I'm like, I rode my bike around as a kid, I think, as most of us do, and just playing outdoors. I thankfully am a 90s baby, so I had a pre-social media childhood outside on the bike, just like pure innocent childhood, riding around, come inside when the streetlights come on. And then I refound it later as an adult. But yeah, it's been a really cool journey. I never sought out cycling. I came from a pretty athletic family, so I'm open to and love pretty much all sports. I've played a ton of sports, everything from like, I was on a competitive double dutch team at one point, which is so random.
That's so Philly. That feels like such a Philly thing.
Oh, and it wasn't in Philly. It was in like North Carolina. So
Girl.
random. Yeah, I know. It's a lot. I played soccer. My brother spent a lot of time playing soccer. I did soccer. I did volleyball well into my adult years, basketball in high school. Like my mom she did a great job finding us activities, finding us sports in a church to be a part of. But then as an adult, I really got further into, I think you make that transition from like really organized sports into either the gym or weightlifting or CrossFit or something like that. So I stumbled into cycling thinking that I was going to go become a triathlete. And it just kind of tumbled downhill from there. I thought I was going to get into triathlon. I found out that I've done enough running to know I don't like to run. That's one thing I've learned in the last few years. I've run enough to know running is not for me. And I can swim, but I'm not like a collegiate swimmer or anything like that. And I just really fell in love with cycling. And what really surprised me is actually my introduction to bikes as an adult and cycling as an adult was in a really warm and welcoming women's group ride environment, which I then realized later on, years later, that is like so much of an anomaly, and is most people in cycling, like that is not their experience. And I was shocked. And so now, you know, I'm years beyond that, and through my partnership with Trek Bikes, one of the things that I came to them a couple years ago and I said when I was just working through like what a partnership would look like with them, I said, non-negotiable for me. One, it's not free stuff. It's not even free bikes. I want full support for fostering community for women on the bike, similar to what really spurred the love for cycling for myself. So yeah, that's how Pedal and Shine was born. We started out last year in 2025, just doing a monthly Friday night group ride. No drop, very non-intimidating, just like we accommodate the least experienced rider who shows up. A true no drop ride. And it's just been really beautiful to see it grow. We did not put a lot of promotion behind it. Last year, we're just working through like, what do we actually want this to be and what do we want this to look like? And then this year now we lead 2 rides a month, and that will be a Saturday ride, the last Saturday of the month here in Philly, and then also a mid-month Wednesday ride. So we're now doing 2 rides, and we'll run that from March through November. So yeah, it's just been really exciting to see it grow.
Yeah, I saw that your last one, I think about 15 women showed up, and you're like, yeah, I didn't even really post about it. So I think that
I was shocked. I was like trying not to cry. What's funny is because the weather is real, the weather is tricky. As you know, if you ride bikes, we're like unfortunately obsessed with the weather. And we went back and forth. I co-lead it with the manager of the Trek Mania store. Her name is Brittany, and she is amazing. So we co-lead it together, and we kind of were going back and forth about the weather because it was supposed to be Saturday morning, and everybody was like nervous, and I was getting messages about how it was going to be really, really cold. And so we moved what would have been a typical Saturday morning ride to the middle of a Sunday afternoon. So I'm thinking like people have already made their plans. People are thinking about getting ready for the work week. Like no one is riding at 2:00 on a Sunday afternoon. And we didn't really like promote it. It's our kind of our soft launch ride for this year. And we were like, we're just going to move it to Sunday afternoon if you can come. And they just kept showing up. I was standing out front of the Trek store where we meet to start the ride, and I'm thinking 5 people are coming. So when they just keep rolling up, and women I do not know, I'd never met, who were like, I'm so excited, I'm happy to be here. I'm like, who are you guys? So it just made my heart really happy to see that. Riders of all different levels on all kinds of bikes, all kinds of road bikes, and we just, tootled about the city and hit a couple good hills together, and it just was perfect. It ended up being great.
That's awesome. But I think that speaks to like the appetite for people who are like seeking out these different types of group rides, because like they have a morsel of information and they're like, I'm making plans to be here. Versus I'm sure there are a lot of bigger group rides, and you guys probably have like a critical mass, like all types of things you guys could be doing in Philly to ride bikes. And they're like, no, I'm making an effort to be at this one on like a Sunday afternoon. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we had one lady who came from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I think about even last year, we had a woman who drove up from Delaware. And I'm like, this is not a huge event. Like, we don't have food truck. Like, there's no food trucks. There's no freebies. Like last year, it was so low key because we were just kind of testing the waters. So yeah, you're absolutely right on that. It speaks to the desire for that type of environment. And that was one of the things that is the most important to me. It's safety, and that it's a really low intimidation, welcoming environment. And I think just those two things alone are like, I've heard and seen so many experiences of the opposite of that on group rides, which unfortunately is a lot of the norm. You're worried about getting dropped. You're worried about keeping up. You're worried about being somewhere and getting lost on the hills, and you don't know who's going to be there. You don't know what kind of people you're interacting with. So I think just being intentional with my co-lead Brittany to make sure that women really feel comfortable, and also making sure, one, we're really clear, this is not a club. Like, we're not trying to like make money off of this. This is not a club. This is not a like, it's us and only us kind of a thing. It's not even that it's like about me. It is very much, I hope you meet somebody else on the ride and you guys both happen to find out that you love bike packing and want to try it, and you guys go do that. Or you can come in our Strava club and say, I work from home on Fridays. Does anybody want to ride around lunchtime? And people can go do that. So that has been really important to kind of just foster the environment where it doesn't have some of that, those like, just, I don't even know the right language for some of those like limits and things that you run into with really organized, structured clubs. I just did not want it to feel like that at all. And seeing people show up and respond, and receive something the way you intended it to be is really a special feeling.
And that's awesome. I've done some group rides with like my local bike shop here, going on one tonight. Actually, it's their full moon ride, so that'll be fun. But one thing that they do, the full moon ride is no drop. It's like family friendly. A lot of kids go, but on their regular Tuesday night rides, they have people grouped according to like speed and level of experience, which I think is probably people's normal interaction with group rides done by their bike shops. So it's really interesting that your relationship with this Trek shop in particular is a little bit different. How else do they support you in terms of hosting this like monthly ride?
Yeah. One, service, and I think we get some discounts on service in store, and bikes. I have to go back and look to see exactly what it is. So that's one way where Also, I think the awareness and the comfortability, and it maybe isn't such a tangible thing in terms of service, but it says a lot for me to have a store or a bike shop that I am comfortable sending another woman into and recommending to them. I have been in enough bike shops to know sometimes it's not a welcoming environment. Sometimes you're not even acknowledged. Sometimes you just don't even know enough to know what you should be asking. And there are shops that I absolutely would not recommend that anybody go into. Male, female, person of color, person of non-person of color, like doesn't matter. So one thing that I'm really proud of is what Brittany has done with that store in terms of making it a really great environment. There's nutrition, there is snacks, there's access to the bathroom, stuff that sometimes gets like overlooked and makes you feel nervous. I think about some of the experiences I had getting into cycling with just the like pre-group ride nerves. And I hate that that's even a thing, but like just the ride intimidation, just not knowing who's going to be there. Will I be able to go to the bathroom? Like, oh, I forgot a water bottle. What do I do? Like just access to some of those things in an environment where the staff in the environment of the store is very, very welcoming. So that's one thing I'm really proud of that I can't take credit for. That is all Brittany and her team at Trek Manayunk. And then also we'll have access like later on into the year where we will do some off the bike socials, places where people can make a friend, come find someone who's interested in the same kind of cycling as you. Outside of the typical support of we have someone on their staff who rides with us, you can have a place to get service, things like that. It's some of the intangible things that you don't always know to look for when you are a newer cyclist that make a really big difference. Like, afterwards, just a place to sit and like recover from a ride. A place to refill your water bottle or go to the bathroom. Sometimes it's just like the little things. They do a wonderful job helping us, and kudos to them. They pretty much have said like, Jenna, whatever you want to do with this, we'll get behind, which is amazing. And you don't really hear very often.
That's awesome. Yeah. Very beautiful. So I saw you posting about Philly is going to see a return for a fairly big cycling event this year. Yeah. What is your experience participating in cycling events? How are you going to be participating and supporting this cycling event? What is this going to mean for Philly? Because Philly has some great trails. Yes. They're actually pretty beautiful.
What surprises people is Philly, although like as a major city, it has a great cycling community. And we actually have a lot to offer on the road and off the road, which I'm very like shocked and surprised by the mountain biking community here, the gravel riding. There's a lot, even though it is a major urban city. And we do have a fair amount of trails where you can like get around. When I first got into the sport, I kind of went from the recreational side. I drifted over and then I started racing. I started training. I've entered, I think, probably every single local race in this greater Philadelphia, Jersey, Delaware, New York, like area. I've been to and raced in, I think, all of the major races around here. And I would always, as I got to know other athletes, other racers, I kind of got the lay of the land on the competitive racing side. I would always hear people talk about how they're like, oh, you're in Philly. There used to be this crazy great race that would go up these super steep hills in Manayunk, and back in my day, or like you run into like older men and women who are like, man, back in my day, there used to be this awesome race, but it stopped 10 years ago, which was before I found the sport. So I never attended it. I would just always hear stories about it. We also have a couple local roads that are on the the race course itself. That have like murals of the race. So I ride by these things all the time. I've heard about it all the time. And then I started hearing rumors of a local race organizer. His name is Carlos Rivera. He had been working for a few years to bring back the Philadelphia Cycling Classic, which was this epic, huge race that went on for many, many years, stopped about 10 years ago, and just had been laying dormant, nothing going on. And he also runs another wonderful race right across in New Jersey called Riverton, like Riverton Criterium. And it's one of my favorite local races. The course is super fun, very technical, which is very much my style. so I met him through that, and he's a cool dude. He's a business owner here in Philadelphia. Him and his wife own a great hair salon. They're invested in, they love it, they live in the city. So just kind of built like a connection with them through racing and hearing what was going on with them. And then a couple of months ago, he reached out and he was like, we are going to do our event at the mayor's office and let everyone know that we are officially bringing back the Philadelphia Cycling Classic in 2026, and asked me to be a part of the team in some capacity. So we're still working out kind of what that actually will end up looking like. Since I have some experience on social media side of things, I have no desire and will not be racing it. Not even like that's not a thing at all. I would be left so far behind. And then I also have some experience doing broadcasting and some of the announcing, like live for racing as well. So we'll see how that ends up looking. I definitely will be a part of the social media and the media side of that when that race comes around at the end of August. But it is such a cool opportunity on so many levels. On the community side, like this is a wonderful event. On the like city and business owner side, this will bring a lot of spectators, fans, customers into the city, and they'll be around. I just think about local businesses who can pop up on a corner, do food, sell, vend, whatever that is. Community groups who can do some kind of activation with the event, whether that's a run club. You do a run and halfway through you stop and you watch where the race goes by at some point, something like that. The cycling community, obviously there's so many opportunities there, and we'll do something that is in the works with the Trek team that'll be racing it. So there's a lot of fun stuff that'll be rolling out with the Philadelphia Cycling Classic as it comes up.
That's what's up. What's up. So two things. I heard that you like crit racing. Is that correct?
So unfortunately, I do. It's so funny is I do not present as like a risky, aggressive, like let me do something dangerous kind of person. But I'll tell you my first experience with crit racing. Now, I do not come from any awareness of professional racing. I have no lay of the land at all. And maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I had a friend who was in my cycling club at the time invite me to go watch a local race. I was like, okay, sure. I show up. I have no idea what to expect. I don't know the format. I don't know the rules. I don't know the riders. Like, I know nothing about crit racing. I just show up with my little camping chair and my cooler and I look for my friends. I show up and it is during the middle of the pro women's race. And all I remember is sitting on a corner, a very tight 90-degree corner. And the women's peloton is coming around the corner and they clip, I don't know what they hit, but big crash happens right in front of where I'm sitting, okay? I'm sitting here in my camping chair. The women and bikes slide around the corner, up over the curb, and basically into my lap. And I'm like, what am I at? I just could not even make sense of it. And I'm looking at my friends who had invited me, and I'm looking around, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I kind of want to try it. I'm like, I kind of feel like I want to do it. I don't know where that comes from. So I looked up the next like local race, Cat 5 race that I could enter, started training, which really meant I was just kind of making it up. And a couple of months later, I entered my first race ever, in which I crashed on the first lap. Crashed on the first lap.
This is why I asked.
My heart rate was like 184 on the starting line. I took the first 2 turns so hot. Like I had no idea what I was doing. Like should not have been out there. I took the first 2 turns so hot. I take turn 2 and I just clip barricades along the side. And I saw sky and tumbling and I got myself up. I know. I got myself up. I get myself together and I get back in the race and I finished in 4th.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know what? I think I could do something with this.
Jenna said, I almost died, but you know what? Hell yeah. Let's do it again. Let's run it back.
So that is my intro to crit racing. I spent a couple years racing, just kind of giving it what I had. And my goal was never to be a pro racer or move up all the categories. I have that competitive athlete side in me that just needed an outlet for a few years. I stopped racing in 2024. At the tail end of 2024, I had a bad crash in a race in New York that really just kind of messed with me mentally. I was starting a business at the time. Like, I just had a lot of other things that needed to be more important. And so, yeah, racing definitely took a back seat. I just kept all of my partnerships, and now I spend like all of my effort and passion on doing things in the non-competitive realm. But yeah, still a big fan of crit races though.
In my head, crit race just is short for crash. Like, that's all I can think about. I've also heard a lot of people like lose bikes because carbon bikes, they like are really susceptible to like frame damage during that. So like, as someone who doesn't even want to competitively cycle, I'm like, my next bike needs to be titanium, not taking it.
And as someone who does it, don't recommend it. I do not recommend it at all. It is so dangerous. I've seen some of the craziest things. I've put close friends in every level, in every category, men, women's, pro, all the way down to novice. I have sent friends in ambulances. I've seen all kinds of just crazy stuff. And some of that comes from a lack of training, lack of education. And there's really not a proper pipeline into racing, except kind of like just get out there and try it, which makes for a lot of dangerous situations at the novice level. So that is a big part of it too.
Did you ever have a coach at any point?
I did. Yep. I had a coach, a woman who raced competitively at a very high level and then retired. Her and her husband lead, I think it's Jalapeno Cycling. I don't remember if they have a store or not, but they have a coaching program. Her name is Kate. She's up in New York, and she's awesome. She really is awesome. She worked with my goals. And I was someone who kind of came to her and said, my number one goal is actually still to have fun. But I do, at the same time, respect this sport and love it enough to know I need structured programming to progress. And what was nice is that it wasn't just focused on racing. It was bike handling. It was safety. It was corners. It was just stuff that would benefit me in a group ride situation or, in a race. So that was really nice. And I think you actually bring up a good point too. Something I thought about is working with a coach sometimes doesn't always just have to be so that you race or compete. I know a lot of people who work with a coach just so that they can go on maybe cycling trips or cycling tourism trips, or just to get into better shape and feel comfortable on group rides that maybe are outside of their riding level. So there's a lot, to explore there, where working with a coach doesn't have to just be to compete or to do dangerous crit racing.
I love that. There's something else that you mentioned, and that's that you have experience broadcasting cycling events. Number one, I would love to get my hands on this audio so I can hear this for myself. But also, how did you get into that?
That has been a really cool, unexpected opportunity that I have absolutely enjoyed. It started originally from social media, just making a lot of cycling social media content, which when I first found the sport and started delving into the racing side, I was just looking for like, who are the teams to follow? What's going on here? How do I understand cycling at the professional level as a fan? I wanted to know who to root for. I wanted to know, like, the NFL has the NFL season. When does it start? I couldn't figure out when are the races? What are the races? How do I go to one? What are the teams? Like I had no idea. I just couldn't figure out what was going on. And so as I educated my own self on cycling at the professional level, specifically here in the States, and I learned about the teams, I heard riders' stories. I started to make friends with some of them and figured out what was going on. I was just like, this is an amazing sport to follow, but it's very difficult to kind of get into it. And so I just started making social media content, TikToks, Instagram reels, and just posting about the sport in general, which got the attention of some of the people who run the broadcast for a lot of the local races, and then some of the larger race leagues as well. And so that's what kind of led to some opportunities for me to be on the broadcast team. I've done like out in the field as the color analyst, where they're like, let's go to Jenna on turn 5 to tell us what just happened. And I'm out there. And then also gotten to do a good amount of live announcing where you're just announcing the race live from the stage to the fans in person, which is, they're so different from one another. So it's cool to have experience in both. And yeah, I've gotten to do that in some really cool places. I did a tour. I was on the announcing team for a tour called Redlands Bicycle Classic, which is like a 5 or 6 day tour out in Redlands, California, which is amazing. It's really only at the pro level. So that was really awesome opportunity to be able to announce live to the crowds there and add a female voice. There's really only like 2 or 3 of us who do it here. Yeah, so that just has been like really fun and unexpected part of the journey too.
That is so interesting. I think right now in women's sports in general, I think there's a lot of women who would love to get into announcing, whether that's being an in-arena announcer, doing color commentary, whether that's someone who maybe didn't go to school for journalism but wants to have a chance to do broadcast journalism, be an announcer at a stadium, whether that's some people who want to get into news and want to partner with news outlets. I think there's a lot of desire there, but like you said, I don't think there's any one pathway to get into it as a woman. So, especially for women's sports too. So,
yeah, yep. You make a great point because the path into it can look so different. And, you know, traditionally, if you think about sports commentators, it's either an ex-professional who then moved in because they bring the experience of like what it's like out there in that competitive setting. You can speak to what's going through a coach's mind, what's going through the athlete's mind, how you would think about the strategy. You can point out things to a viewer from actually having done it yourself. And then there's obviously like the professional side where you mentioned, like you go to school for journalism, you go to school for broadcasting, and you come from a more traditional lens. But I think social media plays a really cool part in that, where you can carve out the opportunities that you want and the door is wide open to do it. And with cycling specifically, like if you are a woman or a person of color, the opportunity for you is like just waiting for you to kind of show up and be like, I'm here. And that is another part that's been really rewarding about the content that I make online, announcing, being on the broadcast team, is some little girl who maybe is at the race with her parents or never thought like, oh, I could do that. She might see me, or someone might come across my TikTok talking about how to get into cycling or questions you should ask as a woman in a primarily male dominated sport. So that has been really rewarding too, just knowing like I would have loved to have found cycling as a kid or even as a youth student. And so now like being in a space where I'm creating that, and hopefully somebody younger might stumble across it.
Last but not least, you've alluded to this a couple of times, but I wanted to maybe ask you to expand on it a little bit more, and that's the business that you started, the Honor Pendant. Can you talk to me about that? It looks kind of like you're wearing one right now, but I won't put your...
I'm bad. I'm being okay today. No, I took it off. I actually was using it. I took the one that I was physically wearing earlier today. I took off. And for those who are maybe not watching and are listening, I normally wear one of my own designs from the Honor Pendant, which is the jewelry brand that I started a year and a half ago, which is a really beautiful paper airplane necklace. That's our signature pendant. I was working on a new piece and I took mine off literally like a couple hours ago, and I was like just measuring a couple things. I was just looking at the sizes and stuff, and I just didn't put it back on. But yeah, a couple years ago, I started the Honor Pendant, which is a jewelry business I started after walking through and experiencing some really difficult personal losses of both friends and family members who passed away. So lost 2 close friends who took their own lives about a decade apart. And so just in my journey, processing grief, honoring the lives and stories of people that I have been really, really close to, but just are gone too soon. I got a paper airplane tattooed on my wrist, just in remembrance of one of my friends who passed. He was in school to become a pilot. And so this was just my little reminder on my wrist that people are always going through more than you think. And also a symbol of hope and encouragement, just in some of like life's heaviest things. Then a couple years ago, I lost a second friend within the same 12 months. My grandfather also passed away. So I've just been on a very interesting journey with grief. I think that's the best word for it. And part of that, I started designing a necklace for myself. Originally, the honor pendant was just a piece I was designing for my own self, a jewelry piece that I just personally wanted. And I just felt like I was supposed to make it for other people too. So I kind of shifted my plans. I redesigned, the original pieces, found a manufacturer, started working on the packaging, went and got the business accounts, like really set everything up, and have found myself owning a business that has been so cool and purposeful to run, very cathartic as well, knowing that one, people resonate with it, and also I get to hear the stories of people, why they purchase one, why they gift one, why they wear one, which has been it's just been awesome to see why people are encouraged by it. It's a unisex design. It's also sweat-proof, waterproof, non-tarnish, because obviously I have an athlete's heart, so it's got to be able to get on the bike or go to the gym with me. So I've just designed something that I'm really proud of. And it has been really cool to hear people's stories of why they buy it. There's a woman who I know who's in my faith community here in Philadelphia. She wore hers when she did a photo shoot for her 1-year cancer-free photos. And that was just so cool. That was really special to see that. I have a friend whose mom is very connected to the addiction and recovery community. Through some of the experiences their family has had supporting someone who's been in addiction and has started a recovery journey. And she is one of my biggest clients who frequently gifts them to somebody else in her community. So it's just been so cool to know why it resonates with people. Obviously I have a lot of friends and community and clients customers who buy them for, they've lost somebody, someone has passed away. But then it's also just something that is a reminder to honor your own journey with your mental health, or whatever hard, heavy thing you've gone through in life, which at some point is going to happen to us all.
That is very true. That is very true. I appreciate you sharing. I appreciate you coming on the show today. I'm excited to see you participate in the Philadelphia Cycling Classic.
Seated on the sideline.
That's funny.
For ultimate
It'll be good. It'll be good. But yeah, I'm excited for what you do next. I'm excited to get up to Philly for a group ride maybe. And yeah.
Love to have you. We'll make it happen.
We will. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for asking me to do this. This was awesome.